Hi, Jewish Mom. I want to tell you today about a mother who I've kind of noticed in my son's gun. I've been noticing her because she's really, really, really young. She's definitely young enough to comfortably be my daughter. And so sometimes I've been doing a little bit of soul searching as I see her. Our sons were together last year in Gan, and this year in Gan, our 2-year-old turned 3-year-old. Turning 3. And my son's actually turning, my baby's baby is turning 3 this Wednesday, Yud Kislev, Mazal Tov. So I've been kind of thinking about it, like, so both of us are mothers of 2 turning 3-year-olds. And I've kind of been thinking, if someone is in like a company, let's say, then there's like people who are in like entry positions, like the people right out of college are in entry positions, entry level. And then, when you're 30s, 40s, 50s, then like you kind of move up the ladder. But as mothers, like I don't really see that happening. I'm a mother of a child who's 2 turning 3, and she's a mother of a 2-year-old turning 3, and we're kind of on the same. It's interesting, we're kind of the same in that way. It's interesting, like, is there really, and I've been kind of thinking, like, is there any difference between me and her? Like, is there any really difference? Like, if anything, probably she has a lot more energy than I do, and she's like, much, much younger than I am. No. So I wanted to tell you about an interesting experience that I had. One day, this past Thursday, I went to pick up my son, my almost 3-year-old, Yonatan, in Gan. And I saw this mother there. And her little boy has just had his chalake, his upsherin. He turned 3 a few weeks ago. He's so cute. He's so teensy, 3-year-old. And he has like this little kippah. And I see like the mother puts it on neatly every day, like with these clips. So when I come in, I see that the mother is upset. And she's turning to the boy and saying, "This is very bad. This is very bad." And I'm curious, like, what happened? And the ganenet, who's a woman, like probably in her 60s, the helper of the gan, and she said, well, it keeps on falling off, and the clips fall off, and the clips don't help, and then we run out of clips, and we lose the clips, and the kippah falls off, and then the mother says, he has to be wearing a kippah. I will bring you an entire box of clips. And she turns to her son and says, "This is very bad. You have to wear a kippah." It was very, very striking to me. I'm looking at this mother who's young enough to be my daughter. And I was just thinking, like, wow, like how, like the difference between my way of seeing things and her way of seeing things. Let me explain. So I think that when mothers are when mothers are really just first starting out, we feel so much pressure to educate our children, and like when they're 2 and 3 and 4, like when they're really young kids, feel so much pressure. Like if I don't educate them right now, it's going to be a disaster. So this mother feels so much pressure. Like, okay, if he's not wearing a kippah now, like what's going to happen when he's 18? Maybe then he'll be completely not religious at all. She's already like assuming that her teensy boy who's like taking off his kippah is going to be like 18 and whatever. Completely not religious. And it reminds me of when I was a first time mother. I remember that there was a friend from the neighborhood, a very gung ho bala tshuva. And she said, and she had a very young daughter. And she said, I have my daughter. I put her in tights, migil efes, from age 0, from like in the hospital. And I kind of joked. I said, "You mean in the hospital? You were putting tights on her?" And she's like, basically, as soon as she comes from the hospital, I have her on tights. She says, because I don't want her to come to me at the age of 16 in the summer and saying, "I don't want to wear tights." Okay, so I also, like, as a starting out mother, I remember that there was an incident with my oldest daughter, who's now turning 20. And she was a very little girl. She was probably maybe 2 or 3 years old, and she had done something that my husband and I thought was terrible. It was something probably that now we wouldn't even notice, but at the time it was like something that we thought that she had done something wrong, and that she should apologize for it. I remember getting into this whole power struggle with our maybe 2 or 3-year-old daughter, saying, "You need to say sorry. You need to say you're sorry. You need to say you're sorry," and going on for for hours. I think we went like this power struggle with her that she had to say she's sorry. I mean, now the idea of getting to a power struggle about that with like a 2 or 3 year old feels pretty ridiculous. But so if I could give advice as an older mother to this younger mother, what I would tell her is kind of like chill. I think that, the years of, I was kind of wondering like what my experience of 20 more years of experience mothering than this mother has given me. And I think it's just like perspective. Like I've seen kids go through so much. I've seen kids, whose grades have gone down and then up, whose skirt lengths have gone up and then down, whose general behavior has gone, down and then up. And I've just seen like how really things it's kind of good, especially with very, very young children, but even with older children, to have perspective, just to kind of think, okay, like it's gonna be okay. The child's not wearing a kippah now, it's gonna be okay. The child's misbehaving now, it's gonna be okay. The child's, flunking this class, it's gonna be okay. Like really, like I think what I like to say just as an advice, I think with very, very young children, in many, many cases, you can really just ignore it. I know that maybe I quoted this before, my parenting teacher, Rabbi Talia Helfer. So she said someone in our parenting class raised a question about a child who's 3 years old, and she said 3 years old. She said up until 3, just try and distract them, just try and just get through the misbehavior. Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't get all caught up with it. And I think even with older children, even with I have teenagers who have this problem, that problem, this problem. And I think that oftentimes, except like if we're not talking about these severe problems that really will take a lot of your time, in many cases it takes like you can give yourself, instead of getting all panicky about it, think, okay, 5 minutes a day I'm gonna dedicate to this problem. 5 minutes a day, and the truth is, if you put in 5 minutes a day, even for a few days, usually things, you get in touch with this kind of occupational therapist, or speak with this expert, or this person who give you advice, or find this article that will give you ideas about how to do what you need to do, what you're finding so hard. And even if things don't get better, it's, you gotta kind of let go. Like it's not really, in my experience, most of the times things do get better. And even if situations are chronic, like there's a limited amount to what you can do, like kind of like a little bit letting go, like let them be, okay? Especially for these teensy kids. So on that note, so I was just talking about being an older mother and the younger mother, and my son's gone. And if I could give her advice, it would be have perspective. Don't worry so much. Like these kids, these little kids, they can drive, if you take them too seriously, they're going to drive you crazy, and you're going to drive them crazy, and nothing good's going to come out of it. Just give them some space. Even older children, like give some space. Don't be so worried. If you have to do a certain amount of hishtadlut, a certain amount of effort, put in a little bit of effort every day. Let's say 5 minutes a day for kind of like the regular garden variety, regular problems that we go through as mothers. And just kind of, like do your hishtadlut 5 minutes a day, and then kind of let go. Just let it go. Like things are going to be, generally, things in the end, things are going to be okay. Okay? On that note, I want to wish all of you moms with an amazing week.